If you like my takes on sports, maybe you'll like my takes on movies. I just created a movie review channel. I reviewed The Menu, Glass Onion, and the newest Puss in Boots movie, so if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on those, I start off each review without spoilers, so don't worry, you don't have to have seen the movie to watch the review. The link is in the description to that new channel. Had a lot of fun making those videos, so definitely check that out. And anyway, on to your regularly scheduled video. I want to talk about a rookie who isn't getting much attention this season, and rightfully so, to be honest, but he's someone who I was really high on coming out of the draft, and I've been very disappointed with. It is the Packers, one of their first round picks, Devonte Wyatt. This was his, this is PFF stats his last season, and they're really impressive. I mean, the last year is really impressive, really. That's kind of the weird thing about him. And I remember the way I felt about him coming out of the draft was, man, I really liked his game. I really liked what I saw from him last year, but it does concern me that he's kind of a one-year wonder. You do see like the PFF grades for 2021, he was over 90, which those guys usually hit. They're usually good players in the at the NFL level. Say what you want about PFF grades, but they do translate very well to success at the NFL level. They do. College grades, your last season tend to be, if you're good at that in college at PFF grade, you tend to be a good NFL player at the offensive and defensive line positions. That being said, looking at his PFF grades this season, it's a lot rougher. His overall defense is under 60, which, that's below average, certainly at this point. So he's had a couple of flashes, but maybe the more concerning thing is the lack of snaps he's been getting. I mean, he had a career high in snaps with 20 against Philadelphia. He's really floated around double digits for the past 5 weeks or so, and then was under double digits for, the first half of this season so far. So what's happened, and also you see his grade last game against the Eagles in Week 12, not great stuff. So what's going wrong with Devonte Wyatt? Why is he struggling? Well, first, let's just ask if he is struggling. So let's look at this. It's a one-on-one matchup against Landon Dickerson. Good player for the Eagles. He was a very hyped-up prospect in his own right and probably would have been drafted earlier if it wasn't for injuries. But, he's a good player. So let's just look at this and say, okay, some people don't love PFF grades, so let's see if they're accurate or inaccurate. Well, in this play, you're going to see Dickerson really, not have much of an issue whatsoever on Wyatt. I do think maybe Wyatt thought that it was a handoff. Maybe that's what happened, and that's why he, got a little bit fooled there. It almost looked like he reached out for the halfback, wasn't able to get it done, but still, no pressure whatsoever on that pass rush snap. Maybe if he gets a little bit older, he will start to realize, okay, this is a pass rush snap. I got to do something differently. So, okay, you can forgive that one. Fine, let's move on. How about one like this, where it is going to be a true rushing snap? You're going to, Hurts is going to hand the ball off to Sanders. So, okay, Wyatt thinks it's going to be a running play. It is going to be a running play. Dickerson one-on-one. Let's see what happens. Right when the play begins, you are going to see, I think this is the first issue I'm starting to see with Wyatt, is that Wyatt was so big and strong his last year at the NFL level, at the college level, that he kind of could just push guys around. This is something you see this stuff with young players. I mean, Gerald McCoy was this way going back a little bit. You also saw like Derek Brown had this tendency a little bit for a more recent example of just some of these big defensive linemen. They're so used to just being able to push guys around that when they go to the NFL level, they can't quite do that as much, and they have to learn a little bit more tricks and techniques that they didn't have to learn at the college level. Because you see right here, Dickerson has the hand placement he wants, and because of that, watch him really just push Wyatt out of the way. I mean, Wyatt is a guy right now where you do not have to put a second guy on him, not even for a second. You can block him one-on-one, especially if it's Landon Dickerson, especially if you have a good offensive lineman who can do it. But still, I mean, that's, he's not someone you fear as an offensive coordinator. Certainly not. Like, this play's another example of, those last plays were him getting beat. This is him getting beat really bad, quite frankly. Watch Jordan Mailata dominate him. I mean, that was just domination right there. And listen, Jordan Mailata, one of the better tackles in football. I get it. He's going to do that to a lot of people, but still, you hope he doesn't do that to you, right? Getting beat by the Eagles' offensive line, there's no shame in it. I mean, they have stars across the board. Like, that's just, Landon Dickerson, the guy who I'm hyping up, might be their worst starter. Like, that's how good of an offensive line this is. So, sure, not looking great is understandable, but still, you would kind of maybe like to see a little bit more flashes. I think that's fair to say. Like, this plays another example of, like, it's a one-on-one matchup once again. Jordan Mailata going up one-on-one against Devonte Wyatt. Watch how this play begins, and you see Mailata, okay, so run to the right. So Mailata's kind of getting in position, trying to make sure that Wyatt does not get over in that direction. So for Wyatt, what are you trying to do? Trying to get as far to the right side of the screen as possible. That's the way this play is designed. So how far do you think, let's play a game, how far do you think he will be able to get over towards the offense's right here? Is he going to get past the hash marks on the right? Is he maybe that's a good, like, okay, you could get around there maybe, I don't know. That might be where he has to actually get for this play to work, or at least get somewhere in that area. That's what you're hoping for, potentially. However, as you see, I mean, he barely gets past the hash marks to the left. I mean, he just was not able to get much of a push whatsoever. And again, you're going up against one of the freakiest athletes of all time in Jordan Mailata. I get it. I'm not trying to sit here and say that, like, oh, he's a bust now because of this. No, I don't think that at all. I would almost never call an interior defensive lineman a bust after one season because, it's just a position that takes time to develop. I think you could certainly make the argument of, hey, Packers, if you were trying to win now, why'd you draft so many projects? I mean, Wyatt didn't seem to be a project on paper, but still, it's a position that sometimes does take more time to develop than you expect. They also drafted, of course, Quay Walker, who was definitely a project, and Christian Watson, who was definitely a project. But listen, we can criticize the Packers, GMing all we want. The reality is that's irrelevant to this discussion. The reality is the Packers aren't going anywhere this season anyways, so you just hope to see some more flashes from Wyatt. Like, there was also this play, which, okay, if we want to say, hey, too good of competition, that's what is happening. Here's Andre Dillard, who, has only played in 15 snaps this season. He's coming in at guard now, and, if you're a fan of PFF grade, his PFF grade is about as bad as, Wyatt's is this season. In fact, it's worse than Wyatt's is this season. So, okay, here's kind of an example of him going up against weaker competition. So this is kind of this is what you expect to see him win, right? You don't expect to see him consistently beating Mailata. You don't expect to see him consistently beating Landon Dickerson. You'd like to see him do it here and there, which he hasn't been doing. But, you're a little bit more forgiving here. This is the one you want to see him win. And as you see, well, I would say he does better here. I mean, this is still he still doesn't do anything here, really. I mean, he still doesn't make anything happen. So he eventually is able to get somewhere near Hurts just because of how long that play developed. But it seems like that's the only time he's ever seen what the quarterback's face looks like is when the quarterback scrambles outside the pocket. And then he's in, chase down duty. That seems like that's the only time you see it, which is, disappointing. Because, again, I was a huge fan of Wyatt coming out of college, and I loved this draft pick when it happened because I thought he would be a plug-and-play, immediate, guy who comes in and plays well for the Packers. But listen, drafting is hard. Every guy is different, and as much as we want to look at who they are on paper or even who they are on film, that's still not exactly who they are and what's going to happen and how long they're going to take to be successful. I do believe that there is a chance the Packers could end up with a good draft pick here, and even with a good draft. I mean, again, Christian Watson took some time to develop, but now has looked very good. I think Wyatt could be another example of that, and we'll see about Quay Walker. There's a chance that these picks work out. It's going to take some time. And when you have these draft picks in your competitive team, you want to see them come in and play well right away, but the reality is that's just not how it works. You can't just hope for the best and then expect the best to happen. The reality is these guys will take time, and Wyatt's going to take some time. So not having a great rookie season, but is there still hope? Of course there's still hope. He just got to figure some stuff out. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.